A little girl asked her mom, "Mom, may I take the dog for a walk around the block?" Mom replies, "No, because she is in heat." "What's that mean?" asked the child. "Go ask your father. I think he's in the garage." The little girl goes to the garage and says, "Dad, may I take Belle for a walk around the block? I asked Mom, but she said the dog was in heat and to come to you." Dad said, "Bring Belle over here." Being old school, he took a rag, soaked it with a little gasoline, and dabbed the dog's backside with it to disguise the scent, and said, "Okay, you can go now, but keep Belle on the leash and only go one time round the block." The little girl left and returned a few minutes later with no dog on the leash. Surprised, Dad asked, "Where's Belle? You're gonna love this." The little girl said, "She ran out of gas about halfway down the block, so another dog is pushing her home." Upon arriving home, a husband was met at the door by his sobbing wife. Tearfully, she explained, "It's the pharmacist. He insulted me terribly this morning on the phone." Immediately, the husband drove downtown to confront the pharmacist and demand an apology. Before he could say more than a few words, the druggist told him, "Now just a minute. Please listen to my side of it. This morning, the alarm failed to go off, so I was late getting up. I went without breakfast and hurried out to the car just to realize that I locked the house with both house and car keys inside. I had to break a window to get my keys. Then, driving a little too fast, I got a speeding ticket. Later, about 3 blocks from the store, I had a flat tire. When I got to the store, there was a bunch of people waiting for me to open up. I opened and started waiting on these people, and all the time the darn phone was ringing off the hook." He continued, "Then I had to break a roll of nickels against the cash register drawer to make change, and they spilled all over the floor. I got down on my hands and knees to pick up the nickels. The phone was still ringing. When I came up, I cracked my head on the open cash drawer, which made me stagger back against a showcase with a bunch of perfume bottles on it. All of them hit the floor and broke. Meanwhile, the phone is still ringing with no let-up, and I finally get to answer it. It was your wife. She wanted to know how to use a rectal thermometer. And honest mister, all I did was tell her." An elderly couple had just crawled into bed when the old man let out a loud fart and proudly declared, "7 points." His wife, puzzled, rolled over and asked, "What are you talking about?" Grinning, he replied, "It's fart football." Not one to be left out of the fun, his wife waited a few minutes, then let out her own impressive fart and confidently announced, "Touchdown, tie game." After a brief pause, the old man fired off another one and boasted, "Aha, 14-7, I'm back in the lead." Determined to stay in the game, the wife followed up with another loud one and grinned, "Touchdown, tie game again." Then, with a small squeaker, she added, "Field goal, I'm winning 17-14. Now, feeling the pressure, the old man couldn't bear the thought of losing. Determined to make a comeback, he pushed with everything he had, but went a little too far. To his utter shock, he accidentally pooped in the bed. His wife, eyes wide, asked, "What just happened?" Sighing in defeat, the old man muttered, "Halftime. Guess it's time to switch sides." The professor presented a large cage containing a male rat, which was positioned in the middle of the enclosure. Next, the professor placed a piece of cake on one side of the cage and a female rat on the other side. The male rat immediately ran toward the cake and began eating it. The professor then removed the cake and replaced it with a piece of bread. Once again, the male rat ran straight to the bread. This experiment continued, with the professor switching the food items after each trial. In every instance, the male rat focused solely on the food, never showing any interest in the female rat. The professor concluded, "This experiment demonstrates that food is the greatest source of strength and attraction." At this point, a student from the back of the room raised his hand and said, "Professor, why don't you try changing the female rat? This one might just be his wife." A man wakes up hungover with no memory of coming home. He realizes he's fully clothed in bed. He sees one of the lamps on a bedside table is broken, and he smells like he was sick on himself. He sits up and sees muddy tracks leading to his bed. The man groans and holds his head, knowing he's going to be in big trouble with his wife. She then enters the bedroom with a glass of water and some aspirin. "Here, sweetie, you probably need this," she says, handing it to him. "Sounds like you had a fun night. When you feel like it, I have your favorite breakfast in the kitchen. You can lie back down and I'll bring it to you in bed. I had my mom pick up the kids so you can have some peace and quiet, and after you clean up and feel better, I was thinking we could fool around and I'll do that thing for you that you like." The man is baffled that she's being so nice to him. Suspicious, he asks what happened last night. "Around 2 a.m., I was woken up by you trying to unlock the door. I let you in, and you staggered right past me and collapsed in the bed after knocking over the lamp," she says. "I was mad, but I figured I should try to undress you. Then you yelled at me. I'm so sorry, honey. What did I say? Get your hands off of me, lady. I'm married." 3 bulls heard the farmer was bringing another bull onto the farm. First bull: "I've been here 5 years. I'm not giving this new bull any of my 100 cows. Second bull: "I've been here 3 years and have earned my right to 50 cows. I'm keeping all of my cows. Third bull: "I've only been here a year, and so far, you guys have only let me have 10 cows. I may not be as big as you fellows, but I'm keeping all 10 of my cows." Just then, an 18-wheeler pulls up in the pasture carrying the biggest Brahman bull they've ever seen. At 3,600 pounds, each step he takes strains the steel ramp. First bull: "I think I can spare a few cows for our new friend." Second bull: "I actually have too many cows to take care of. I can spare a few. I'm certainly not looking for an argument." They look over at the third bull and find him pawing the dirt, shaking his horns and snorting. First bull: "Son, don't be foolish. Let him have some of your cows and live to tell about it." Third bull: "He can have all my cows. I'm just making sure he knows I'm a bull." A man walks into a doctor's office and says, "Doc, I've got a problem, but you have to promise me one thing. You cannot laugh." The doctor nods solemnly. "Sir, I am a professional. In over 20 years of practicing medicine, I have never laughed at a patient." Satisfied, the man takes a deep breath and drops his trousers. The doctor is immediately confronted with the smallest you-know-what he has ever seen in his entire career. Despite his best efforts, a chuckle escapes. Then another. Before he knows it, he's doubled over, gasping for air, laughing so hard he nearly falls off his chair. Minutes later, he finally regains control, wipes his eyes, and takes a deep breath. "I'm so sorry," he says, trying to regain his professionalism. "I don't know what came over me. I promise it won't happen again. Now, what seems to be the problem?" The man looks at him, eyes full of despair, and says, "It's swollen." 2 elderly ladies, Connie and Jean, sat on a park bench outside the town hall, where a flower show was underway. Jean, the shorter of the two, sighed and leaned toward Connie. "Life has gotten so dull. We never do anything exciting. For $10, I'd strip down and streak through that boring old flower show." Connie's eyes twinkled as she pulled a crisp $10 bill from her purse. "You're on." With a determined nod, Jean slowly wriggled out of her clothes. She plucked a dried flower from a nearby display, clenched it between her teeth, and, completely naked, dashed through the front doors as fast as her aging legs could carry her. Connie waited outside, listening to the sudden uproar of gasps, laughter, and enthusiastic applause from within. Moments later, Jean burst through the exit, grinning from ear to ear. "What happened in there?" Connie asked, wide-eyed. Jean held up a check and laughed. "Turns out I won first prize, best dried arrangement, and $1,000 to boot." A young pastor sat in a restaurant enjoying his lunch. As he ate, he opened a letter from his mother, which had arrived that morning. When he unfolded it, a $20 bill fluttered onto the table. "Thanks, Mom," he thought. "I really needed this right now." As he finished his meal, he noticed a beggar leaning against a lamppost outside. The man looked down on his luck, and the pastor felt a tug at his heart. He hesitated for a moment, then made a decision. Pulling the envelope back out, he crossed out the names and in large letters wrote, "Persevere." Without drawing attention to himself, he tucked the bill back inside, placed the envelope under his arm, and casually dropped it as he walked past the man. The beggar picked it up, read the message, and smiled. The next day, as the pastor sat down for another meal, he felt a tap on his shoulder. Turning, he saw the same man, grinning and holding out a thick wad of cash. Bewildered, the pastor asked, "What's this?" The man chuckled. "Your half of the winnings. Persevere came in first in the 4th race at the track yesterday. Paid 30 to 1. One morning, a husband sat on the couch, peacefully sipping his coffee, when his wife stormed in holding a screwdriver, a wrench, and a confused expression. "The washing machine is broken," she announced. The husband sighed, setting down his mug. "All right, I'll take a look at it." She crossed her arms. "Oh, so now you're a washing machine repairman?" He raised an eyebrow. "I mean, I can try—" "Careful! Careful!" she suddenly shouted as he knelt beside the washer. "You have to open it properly. Oh my God! Do you even know what you're doing? Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. No, 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 not like that. You'll break it. Do you even know what that part does? Where are the instructions? Did you even read the instructions?" The husband blinked up at her. "Honey, Be careful with that screwdriver. You're going to electrocute yourself. Do you want to die? Maybe you should call a professional. Oh my God, you never listen. Why are you even touching that? Use a wrench. A wrench, for the love of—" The husband slowly stood up, dusted off his hands, and looked her dead in the eye. "Now you know what it feels like when you cook dinner." He's expected to regain consciousness in a few days. A little boy and a little girl went to the same school and became good friends. Every day they sat together at lunch and discovered they both always brought chicken sandwiches. This continued through 4th and 5th grade until one day the boy noticed she wasn't eating chicken. "Hey, how come you're not eating chicken anymore? Don't you like it?" he asked. "I love it," she said, "but I have to stop." "Why?" She pointed to her lap and whispered, "Because I'm starting to grow little feathers down there." Surprised, he said, "Let me see." She hesitated, but then lifted her skirt. He took a look and said, "Whoa, you're right. Maybe you should stop eating chicken." He kept eating his chicken sandwiches until one day he brought peanut butter instead. "I have to stop eating chicken, too," he told her. "I think I'm starting to get feathers down there as well." Curious, she asked to see, so he pulled down his pants. She took one look and gasped, "Oh no, it's too late for you. You've already got the neck and the gizzards." On a bright and beautiful Sunday morning, the small town of Johnstown stirred early as its residents made their way to the local church. Before the service began, the congregation sat in their pews, chatting about their families, their lives, and the latest town happenings. Suddenly, in a flash of fire and smoke, Satan himself appeared at the front of the church. Chaos erupted as people screamed, scrambling over one another in a desperate rush to escape. Within moments, the church was empty, except for one elderly gentleman who remained seated, completely unfazed. Perplexed, Satan strode up to the man and sneered, "Do you know who I am?" "Yup, sure do," the man replied without a hint of fear. "And you're not afraid of me?" Satan pressed. "Nope, not one bit," the man said casually. Now thoroughly annoyed, Satan demanded, "And why the hell not?" With a shrug, the old man leaned back and said, "Been married to your sister for 48 years. A man hires a blonde to paint stripes down the middle of a road, giving her one simple rule. She must paint at least 4 miles per day to keep the job. On the first day, she absolutely crushes it. 8 miles. The boss is blown away. The second day, she paints 4 miles. Not as impressive, but still meeting the requirement. On the third day, she only manages 2 miles. The boss raises an eyebrow, but figures maybe she's just tired. By the 4th day, she barely scrapes out 1 mile. Frustrated, the boss finally asks, "What's going on? You started off amazing. Why are you slowing down so much?" The blonde wipes her forehead and sighs. "Well, I'm getting farther and farther away from the paint bucket." On a Sunday morning, and thinks about how they can have some time to cuddle. So they tell their son to go stand on the balcony and look if he can see something new going on in the neighborhood. So their son stands on the balcony and they get going. After a few minutes, he yells, "Dad, Dad, the Myers got a new car." Dad, dutifully but a little out of breath, answers, Fine, that's nice, son. Keep looking if you see something else." Their son keeps looking, and after a while, he reports back to his dad again. Dad, the Smiths have a lawnmower robot now. His dad, panting, shouts back, "Well, that's wonderful. Keep looking, keep looking." So he keeps looking, and another few minutes he shouts, "Dad, Dad, the Wilsons are having sex." Dad stops totally confused, and after a few seconds he asks, "How would you know?" "Their son has been standing on the balcony looking around for 10 minutes now." So it's 2 in the morning, and the whole house is quiet. Suddenly, a 70-year-old man rolls over in bed and sees his wife's phone light up. Half asleep, he squints and reads the screen. Beautiful. Without thinking, he smacks his wife awake and yells, "Who the hell is texting you beautiful at 2 a.m.? Confused and still groggy, she grabs her phone, looks at it, then glares at him with pure rage. She shouts, "Put on your damn glasses, genius. It says battery full, not beautiful." An elderly gentleman walked into the bank and approached the teller. He handed over his bank card and said, "I'd like to withdraw $20, please." The teller glanced at him and replied, "Sir, for withdrawals under $200, please use the ATM." The old man frowned. "Why is that?" he asked. Irritated, the teller slid the card back to him. "Those are the rules, sir. If you don't need anything else, please step aside. There are other customers waiting." The man remained silent for a moment. Then he handed the card back and said, "All right, I'd like to withdraw all my money instead." The teller sighed, but proceeded to check the account. A moment later, her expression changed. She leaned in and whispered, "Sir, you have $500,000 in your account. The bank doesn't keep that much cash on hand. You'll need to schedule an appointment." The old man nodded. "I see. How much can I withdraw immediately?" $5,000 is the maximum per transaction." The gentleman smiled. "All right, I'll take $5,000 then." Now speaking much more politely, the teller counted out the cash and handed it to him with a warm smile. The old man took $20, placed it in his wallet, and slid the remaining $4,980 back across the counter. "Please deposit this back into my account." Moral of the story: never underestimate older folks. They've spent a lifetime mastering the game. A man walks into a restaurant with a full-grown ostrich following closely behind. The waitress approaches and asks for their order. "I'll have a hamburger, fries, and a Coke," the man says. Then, turning to the ostrich, he asks, "What about you?" "I'll have the same," the ostrich replies. A short while later, the waitress returns with their food. "That'll be $9.40, she says. The man reaches into his pocket and, without hesitation, pulls out the exact amount. The next day, the pair returns. Again, the man orders a hamburger, fries, and a Coke, and the ostrich echoes his choice. Once more, the man reaches into his pocket and produces the exact change. This routine continues daily until Friday night. As they walk in, the waitress greets them. "The usual?" "Not tonight," the man replies. "It's Friday, so I'll have a steak, baked potato, and a salad." "Same," says the ostrich. The waitress serves their meals and says, "That'll be $32.62. Without missing a beat, the man reaches into his pocket and hands over the precise amount. Unable to contain her curiosity any longer, the waitress asks, "Sir, how do you always have the exact change, no matter the price?" The man smiles. "Years ago, I was cleaning out my attic and found an old lamp. When I rubbed it, a genie appeared and granted me 2 wishes. For my first wish, I asked that whenever I had to pay for something, I could just reach into my pocket and always pull out the right amount." "That's incredible!" the waitress exclaims. "Most people would just wish for a fortune, but you'll never run out of money." "That's right." The man nods. "Whether I need a gallon of milk or a luxury car, the money is always there." The waitress glances at the ostrich. "And what about your second wish?" The man sighs, shaking his head. "I wished for a tall chick with long legs who agrees with everything I say." For her 50th birthday, a woman decides to treat herself to a facelift. She spends $15,000, and the results are stunning. She looks and feels amazing. On her way home, she stops at a newsstand to buy a newspaper. Before leaving, she asks the clerk, "I hope you don't mind me asking, but how old do you think I am?" The clerk studies her for a moment and says, I'd say about 32. Beaming, she replies, Nope, I'm exactly 50. Feeling even better about herself, she stops at McDonald's for a quick bite and asks the cashier the same question. The young woman behind the counter guesses, I'd say around 29. With a big smile, she responds, Nope, I'm 50. Absolutely thrilled, she makes one last stop at a candy shop to grab some mints. Once again, she asks the clerk the burning question. The shopkeeper studies her face and says, Oh, I'd guess about 30. Gleefully, she exclaims, I'm actually 50, but thank you. As she waits at the bus stop to go home, she notices an elderly man sitting beside her. Feeling playful, she asks him as well, Sir, how old do you think I am? The old man chuckles and says, Lady, I'm 78, and my eyesight isn't what it used to be. But when I was younger, there was a foolproof way to tell a woman's age. Now, it's a bit unusual, but if I listen to your voice and shake your hand, I can guess your exact age. She laughs and says, All right, go ahead. The old man takes her hand, gives it a firm shake, listens as she speaks, and after a moment confidently says, Madam, you are exactly 50. Amazed, she gasps, That's incredible. How on earth did you know? He chuckles and leans in. I was behind you at McDonald's. A nun is walking alone on a deserted road when a man assaults her. After he is done, he asks, What will you tell the other sisters? She replies, I'll tell them you grabbed me, threw me down, and made love to me twice, unless you're tired. 3 healthy young men were hiking through a forest when they came upon the Clearwater River in the spring of 2017. Needing to get to the other side of the large, raging, violent river, the first man prayed, God, please give me the strength to cross the river. Poof! God gave him big arms and strong legs, and he was able to swim across in about 60 minutes, nearly drowning twice. After seeing him get across, the second man prayed with a bit more intelligence, God, please give me strength and the tools to cross the river. Poof! God gave him a rowboat, as well as strong arms and strong legs. He was able to row across in about 30 minutes, nearly capsizing once. Seeing what happened to the first 2 men, the third man prayed, God, please give me the strength, the tools, and the intelligence to cross the river. Poof! He was turned into a woman. She checked the map, hiked 100 yards upstream, and walked across the bridge. P.S., guys, if at first you don't succeed, do it the way your wife told you. A nun wakes up one morning hearing birds sing outside the abbey. She had the morning free, so she decides to go for a walk. She gets out of bed, puts on her garments and her shoes. As she's walking down the hallway to the convent kitchen, another nun looks at her, smiles, and says, Someone got up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. She finds this a bit odd, but decides to ignore it and keeps on walking. A few moments later, she runs into another nun who says, Someone got up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. She gets angry. By the end of the hallway, and after 5 more encounters, the nun is furious. She marches straight to the head sister's office and throws the door open. The head nun goes to speak, but is shouted down by the angry nun. Don't you dare tell me I got up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. It's all I've heard today, and I'm fed up with it. The head nun, stunned, says calmly, I was going to say nothing of the sort. I was merely going to ask, why are you wearing the bishop's slippers? A first-grade teacher, Miss Brooks, was having trouble with one of her students. The teacher asked, Harry, what's your problem? Harry answered, I'm too smart for the first grade. My sister is in the 3rd grade, and I'm smarter than she is. I think I should be in the 3rd grade, too. Miss Brooks had had enough. She took Harry to the principal's office. While Harry waited in the outer office, the teacher explained to the principal what the situation was. The principal told Miss Brooks he would give the boy a test. If he failed to answer any of his questions, he was to go back to the 1st grade and behave. She agreed. Harry was brought in, and the conditions were explained to him, and he agreed to take the test. Principal, what is 3x3? Harry, 9, principal. What is 6x6? Harry is 36. And so it went with every question the principal thought a 3rd grader should know. The principal looks at Miss Brooks and tells her, I think Harry can go to the 3rd grade. Miss Brooks says to the principal, "Let me ask him some questions." The principal and Harry both agreed. Miss Brooks asks, "What does a cow have 4 of that I have only 2 of?" Harry, after a moment, "Legs." Miss Brooks, "What is in your pants that you have but I do not have?" The principal wondered why she would ask such a question. Harry replied, "Pockets." Miss Brooks, "What does a dog do that a man steps into?" Harry, "Pants." The principal sat forward with his mouth hanging open. Miss Brooks, "What goes in hard and pink, then comes out soft and sticky?" The principal's eyes opened really wide, and before he could stop the answer, Harry replied, "Bubble gum." Miss Brooks, "What does a man do standing up, a woman does sitting down, and a dog does on 3 legs?" Harry, "Shake hands." The principal was trembling. Miss Brooks, "What word starts with an F and ends in K that means a lot of heat and excitement?" Harry, "Fire truck." The principal breathed a sigh of relief and told the teacher, "Put Harry in the 5th grade. I got the last 7 questions wrong." A blonde lady motorist was about 2 hours from San Diego when she was flagged down by a man whose truck had broken down. The man walked up to the car and asked, "Are you going to San Diego?" "Sure," answered the blonde. "Do you need a lift?" "Not for me. I'll be spending the next 3 hours fixing my truck. My problem is I've got 2 chimpanzees in the back that have to be taken to the San Diego Zoo. They're a bit stressed already, so I don't want to keep them on the road all day. Could you possibly take them to the San Diego Zoo for me? I'll give you $200 for your trouble." "I'd be happy to," said the blonde. So the 2 chimpanzees were ushered into the back seat of the blonde's car and carefully strapped into their seatbelts, and off they went. 5 hours later, the truck driver was driving through the heart of San Diego when suddenly he was horrified. There was the blonde walking down the street holding hands with the 2 chimps, much to the amusement of a big crowd. With a screech of brakes, he pulled off the road and ran over to the blonde. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "I gave you $200 to take these chimpanzees to the zoo." "Yes, I know you did," said the blonde. "But we had money left over, so now we're going to SeaWorld." A man in Phoenix calls his son in New York the day before Thanksgiving and says, "I hate to ruin your day, but I have to tell you that your mother and I are divorcing. 45 years of misery is enough." "Pop, what are you talking about?" the son screams. "We can't stand the sight of each other any longer," the father says. "We're sick of each other, and I'm sick of talking about this. So you call your sister in Chicago and tell her?" Frantic, the son calls his sister, who explodes on the phone. "Like heck, they're getting divorced!" she shouts. "I'll take care of this." She calls Phoenix immediately and screams at her father. "You are not getting divorced. Don't do a single thing until I get there. I'm calling my brother back and we'll both be there tomorrow. Until then, don't do a thing. Do you hear me?" And hangs up. The old man hangs up the phone and turns to his wife. "Okay," he says. "They're coming for Thanksgiving and paying their own way." A bunch of guys are in the changing room of a golf club. A mobile phone on a bench rings, and a man engages the hands-free speaker function and begins to talk. Everyone else in the room stops to listen. Man: "Hello." Woman: "Darling, it's me. Are you at the club?" Man: "Yes." Woman: "I am at the shopping center and found this beautiful leather coat. It's only $1,000. Is it okay if I buy it?" Man: "Sure, go ahead if you like it that much." Woman: "I also stopped by the Mercedes dealership and saw the new 2013 models. I saw one I really liked." Man: "How much?" Woman: "Only $95,000. Man: "Okay, but for that price, I want it with all the options." Woman: "Great. Oh, and one more thing. The house I wanted last year is back on the market. They're asking $950,000. Man: "Well, then go ahead and give them an offer of $900,000. They will probably take it. If not, we can go the extra $50,000. It really is a pretty good price." Woman: "Okay, I'll see you later. I love you so much." Man: "Bye. I love you too." The guy hangs up. The other men in the changing room are staring at him in astonishment, mouths agape. He smiles and asks, "Anyone know who this phone belongs to?"